Hey, what's up, Spencer? My name is Everybody, and welcome back to my channel. If you are somebody who is into books, anime, and fandom, then make sure to subscribe because I am constantly uploading reading vlogs, anime reviews, and different discussions of aspects of fandom. And today, we are going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag because we are halfway through the year of 2023. And I have been able to get a lot of reading done in the past 6 months. So far, I've read 119 books, which is holy crap, that is so many. I have been reading a lot more manga this year, and half of it probably is manga, but that is still an incredible amount. So let's go through this tag and talk about all the different things that I've read so far this year. So the first question is best book that you've read so far this year, and I'm definitely going to have to give that to The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. This book is a Carrie retelling, but with a modern twist. It focuses on our main character who is half black and half white, but is passable white. And so she has lived and pretended her entire life to just be fully white until one day she accidentally gets caught out in the rain. Her hair starts to get really frizzy, and everybody that she goes to school with realizes, holy crap, this girl actually might be black. And everybody starts treating her differently. And even though this takes place in 2017, because she goes to a southern school, there is actually still segregated dances. And that leads to this movement of maybe we should really push to have desegregated dances now, and that whole entire discussion. And then the infamous Carrie scene of having paint / pig's blood dumped on you. The main character has some supernatural powers that she isn't fully in control of and fully recognizes, and this was just so good because I think that adding the aspect of race onto the story of Carrie really added a lot to it, and the fact that it takes place in 2017 really shows and talks about the fact that there are still segregated dances despite the fact that desegregation happened in the 60s. So it was just a really interesting book and a really great read, and really brings to light an issue that a lot of people don't know is still a thing in today's day and age. So yes, I absolutely loved this book and it was really good. I highly recommend it and suggest that other people also read it. The next question is, what is the best sequel that you've read so far? And that is definitely going to be Magical Boy by the Cow. This is my favorite graphic novel series. There are only 2 books in it, but it's still the best and I love it so much. So this series really follows the magical girl trope in which the main character has to kind of use these very girly magical powers to save the world. But the problem is the main character is actually a trans man, and thus is trying to learn how to balance the fact that they have to do this really inherently feminine thing while also identifying as a man, and how to establish his identity as a man and make his parents see him in the way that he sees himself. So that makes this a really interesting read for any trans man. You're really learning how to balance your previous old self and your relationship that you have with all of these girly things with who you are now, and figuring out how those things are going to relate and how you're going to interact with them and stuff like that. And I just thought that this was such a beautiful, fun book. And I wish that there were more than 2 books in this series because that's just how much I love it. The next question is a new release that you want to read but haven't been able to yet. And for me, that is going to be Page Boy by Elliot Page. This is his autobiography about growing up as an actor and being a trans man and all of the difficulties that comes with that. You know, Elliot Page is just about the only famous trans man out there, so I am very interested in reading what it is like to have transitioned, because in so many ways it is a very personal experience, and to have to transition in front of millions and millions of people, have every aspect of your transition put on display and have people talk about it and analyze it, that is very terrifying thing that 99% of trans people don't have to go through. So to be able to read that is going to be very interesting, and I am looking forward to see what kind of insights he has to share. Next up is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? And for me, it is definitely going to be The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. This is a companion series to A Darker Shade of Magic, which is my absolute favorite series. There hasn't been said a lot about what this book is about. On Goodreads, it kind of just says that this is a companion series that takes place with all of the original characters from the first series, and that's about it. V.E. Schwab has been sharing on her Instagram some snippets of A Fragile Thread of Power, but I haven't been looking into that at all because for me, those are spoilers. I don't want to see anything of that. I just want to be able to get the book in September and be able to read it completely blind and just be able to experience the incredible beauty that is A Darker Shade of Magic Part 2. And I heard that this book is supposed to be 800 pages, which is so many, and I'm just so excited for it. I cannot wait. Our next question is, what is your biggest disappointment so far this year? And for me, that is without a doubt, hands down, don't even need to think about it, The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew. When I picked up this book, I really thought that it was going to be a 5-star, and it let me down so much. It was a 1. It was terrible. There was nothing about it that led up to any expectations at all. This book focuses on our main character, Delaney, who ends up getting into this college that teaches its students how to do these really cool things like phase through to different dimensions, which sounds super duper cool and awesome and interesting, except for the fact that it's something that is barely ever mentioned because the author focuses really heavily on the main character and her relationship with this guy that she meets there that she kind of knew before, but not really. The author set up such a cool, incredible concept, and I was so into it, only to have her almost never use it. I think the main character maybe phased through to a different reality twice, and when that happened, we didn't even really spend any time there. There was no conflict, nothing happened there. It only focuses on her relationship with this other guy, which is such a letdown that it makes me very upset because I don't care about this relationship with this other guy. What do you mean you can transport to different dimensions and yet you're gonna stay in this one because this guy is kind of cute? No. Also, the main character is deaf, and this is written by a deaf author, which is great, but the main character has a cochlear implant, which makes it so that they can hear. It isn't 100%, the same as having the hearing that I have, but it isn't the same as having a full deaf character, which is what I thought this character was going to be walking into it. There are still a little bit of issues with her being able to struggle with being able to understand her professors when they're lecturing and stuff like that, but it's not she fully needs to rely on translation and stuff like that. In many ways, on her own, she can hear due to her assistive device. I was hoping for a fully deaf character that was going to be using sign language and all sorts of stuff, but that didn't happen, and that kind of made me sad. I wanted somebody who was deaf, not cochlear implant deaf. Next question is, what is your biggest surprise so far this year? And I think that more than a book, it's kind of a genre that I have been falling into that has given me some pleasantly surprising reads. And that's the fact that I've been coming across a lot of queer manga coming out of Japan, which has been telling some really interesting LGBT stories, and I am just so into them. 2 examples that I have here are I Want to Be a Wall and The Gay Who Turned Kaiju. The Gay Who Turned Kaiju is about a gay teenage boy who overhears his mentor talk about how he is disgusted by gay men and ends up being so hurt by this, ends up thinking that either I need to change who I am as myself fundamentally, or I'm going to kill myself because I cannot continue to live as a gay man. And this is like such a resounding thought that he ends up turning into a kaiju because it was either that or death. And how this ends up kind of freeing him and making him feel like, now that I'm a big scary monster, you know, being gay isn't as big and scary, and I can be more open with it and things like that. And it's just a really interesting journey about how he gets himself and other people in his life to accept him for who he is. And this is a standalone, while on the other hand, I Want to Be a Wall is a series about a ace girl who loves boys love manga and a gay man who is in love with his straight best friend. They get beard married to each other and have this really adorable queer marriage where they just love and support each other in these ways that other people can't, because they just know and understand each other in these ways that other people don't. And besides just these, I have read quite a few other LGBT manga, and there are quite a few other things that I have on my list that I've been looking at that I have been really into, and I just think that the explosion of LGBT manga that is coming out of Japan, I am loving it, and I am loving to see, you know, the experiences of queer people from a country that isn't just America. I feel like I only ever read and hear about queer people from America, and there are more countries in the world besides just the US. The next question is, who is your new favorite author? And for me, that is going to be Phil Stamper. I have only read one of his books. I read Small Town Pride last month during Pride, and I enjoyed it so much and thought that it was just so cute and so fun that I decided to put his other work on my TBR, despite the fact that I haven't really read it yet. I just kind of went through everything that he had and added it all on there. So hopefully in the second half of the year, I can read some more of his things and confirm him to definitely be true as a new favorite author, because I can't officially say that somebody is a new favorite author when I've only read one of their works, but I am having high hopes that I can consider him to be a new favorite. The next question is, who is your newest fictional crush? And I don't really do the whole like fictional crush thing, especially for books, and especially because I read a lot of YA and I am almost 30 now. So getting crushes on characters for me isn't as much of a thing. Especially since, for me, I don't really crush on characters as more as just really admire who they are or different aspects of their identity that they have going on and stuff like that. I'd say that it's more... I'd be more envious of who a character is before I am somebody who is going to crush on a character. That being said, I do have quite a few new favorite characters, just in general, regular favorite, and that is the next question. So my new favorite character is definitely going to be Hanako from the manga series Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. This is a series about Hanako, who is a ghost who has the power to grant wishes for people, and he becomes mixed up in this girl, Yashiro, and they become friends and going on kind of all of these little supernatural adventures throughout the school. This manga is super cute, super adorable. Hanako is super funny, while also having like some really serious trauma going on in the background. And the fun thing is, he isn't necessarily the good guy, he's kind of the bad guy in many ways, but with good guy intentions. He's a very complex character for a manga that is technically supposed to be considered a comedy. I also personally headcanon Hanako as being a trans man because they repeatedly be like, hey, aren't Hanako ghosts like typically girls? And he's like, yep. All right, we're skipping over the question, a book that made you cry, because books don't really ever make me cry. It's very rare for a book to make me cry. Like, I think the last time that happened was years ago, and I can't even tell you what book that was. So we're just gonna skip on over to a book that made you happy, which I think is a silly question because all the books make me happy, but if I had to pick one in specific, I'm gonna have to say Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chiapeko. I've read a couple of things by Rin Chiapeko in the past, and I feel like I end up averaging giving her work like 3 stars. I don't ever hate it, but I don't really love it either. But this was a pleasant surprise with how much I really enjoyed it. This book is about our main character, Remy, who lives in this world where there are vampires, and he is a vampire hunter despite having a lot of people who dislike him because they think that he might be part vampire, and he ends up discovering or coming across a new kind of like breed of vampire that ends up being very dangerous, and he ends up meeting and working with this vampiric couple that he ends up actually falling in love with both of them. So this is the first book that I've read that has had a polyamorous romance in it, and that really leans heavily into why I ended up enjoying this book so much. I am sorry that my neighbor's dog is barking. I hate these things, but they let them bark all the time, and we are getting close to the end anyway, so we're just gonna deal with it, I guess. So I haven't come across any other books that have polyamorous romances in them before, and as a poly person, like, that is extremely exciting for me, and that is something that is obviously going to make this book work for me more than some other books have before. And I did really enjoy the story. I thought that the story was really fun and interesting, and there is a second book into the series, so I am interested in seeing where the romance goes, but also where the story goes. And if you know some books that have polyamorous romances in them, please, 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 please leave it down below because I definitely want to check them out. All right, getting close to the end, second to last, what is the most beautiful book that you have bought this year? I'm definitely gonna throw that out to Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan. This is a beautiful cover. I am somebody who really likes intricate covers that has a lot of artwork on it and has a lot of depth, and I am just really jiving with the flowers, the moon, and everything that is going on here. Saying that, I do also have to give a special shout out to the Darker Shade of Magic series because they came out with their new covers this year, and so I went out and bought all of those. I do like the original covers better because the actual artwork is more intricate and looks more interesting, but I still really enjoyed these covers, obviously, because I went out and bought a whole entire second set just so I could have these covers. And then the last question is books that you need to read before the end of the year. I have a couple that I want to be focusing on. First off is The First Bright Thing by J.R. Dawson. I want to read this book because I am actually only 1 degree separated from this author. My friend is friends with this person and has told me that they really want to know my thoughts and opinions on this book. I actually haven't heard of this before, and I'm somebody who really likes to go into things blind, so I'm kind of not really trying to look at the cover flap and see what it is about. I just want to go in, read it, and give my friend some thoughts and opinions about how I think this is, and then maybe I'll be able to meet the person who wrote this book. That would be great. That would be so much fun. That would be a beautiful and delightful thing to do. I also really want to read Pangs by Jerry L. Wheeler and Daughter of No One by Sam Liedl because I got both of these books by indie authors while I was at Pride this year. So I really want to be able to, you know, support people in my community and check out what they got going on with these 2 books. And last but not least, I need to read Heart of Flames by Nikki Pau-Prato. This is the second book in the Crown of Feathers series, a series that I started a couple of years ago, and I actually ended up starting this book, getting halfway through it, and then like putting it down to come back at. And that was years ago, and I just really want to finish this series already. So that is one of my goals for the end of the year, is to finish the Crown of Feathers series. It's a trilogy. Alright, so that was the mid-year freakout tag. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Any thoughts, opinions that you have on these books? And let me know what your plans for the rest of the year are. I would love to know, like, how much reading have you done so far, and what are your plans coming up? But besides that, don't forget to subscribe for more videos about books, anime, and fandom. And besides that, make sure to stay safe and have a fantastic day. Bye.